Telluride is a magical place, and I've always loved it there. And it was a real special thing for us to go.
Well, the Telluride Bluegrass Festival was very important in the formation of the community that would listen to a group like Leftover Salmon and would go party with them. You know, Fred Shellman and his friends went to Winfield, Kansas to the festival there, and that was kind of a progressive bluegrass festival for its day when it started. It was a flat picking contest, you know, and guitar soloing was kind of the last thing that come to bluegrass.
You know, a lot of times playing in the traditional festivals or, you know, for us playing our newgrass kind of wild and crazy jammy music, I know I felt self-conscious a lot, like, you know. And so when we got out here and to Colorado and we found this audience, they weren't that concerned about whether it was correct what we were doing, is that how Lester and Earl and Bill Monroe did it in 1948, you know. It was more like, we just like what you're doing. Keep doing it.
There was an audience here that we'd been craving, one that, you know, was up for anything. So we started telling our buddies like John Hartford and Peter Rowan, Brian Bowers, Dan Crary. Started telling all our pals about this place. After about 4 or 5 years, it's becoming a larger festival and kept growing and growing.
So I first met Vince when he was like backstage security, which, you know, that alone can tell you, really, people wonder, but what happened and all that stuff. But the fact that Vince is in charge of your back security, that fact alone could be responsible for the downfall of the festival. Well, you know, there's a certain party atmosphere backstage at Telluride. I mean, those people want to get back to their bed. And I also think that though at one time perhaps he destroyed the festival, he's probably responsible for the whole party atmosphere backstage at the same time.
In the early days, it was truly a pickin' festival. And that was one of the things that made Drew and Vince and Mark unique in the musician world, is while they were playing the bars, they were also playing the campground. After the gig, we'd go back at 3 in the morning, go to the campground, light a big old fire, and have a party till dawn, every single time.
It's the time to lose and hope. It's the time to believe. One hope we can find our way. If you're ready to receive, there's always so much to learn as we wander through this life. Time is everything, and it's the timeline. Time is everything, and it's the timeline.
There were camps that were established year after year. And there was always Fred and Bob on the corner down there. They always had the same spot down by the river. They had their own private quarters off in the back, and then they had actually a green room for the musicians. They got a little bit snooty about it after a while. They would have signs hanging up that said, "If it ain't got strings, we don't want to hear it. Tune it or die." That kind of stuff. And there was the Phoenix camp and the Tucson camp. We always had Camp Howdy. And everybody knows where Camp Howdy came from, right?
It was already changing. It wasn't really a bluegrass festival, even though it was called the Telluride Bluegrass Festival. Between John Hartford and Brian Bowers and Newgrass Revival and Norman and Nancy Blake and Hot Rise, it could be argued that Hot Rise was there to play bluegrass and Leftover Salmon was there to have a great party. And that included being on stage and being in the campground. And those guys, you know, God bless them. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning and 41 degrees, if that, and they're out there picking it solid.
My first full town park Telluride experience, pick extravaganza till dawn. We decided that a parade up Main Street to go to Floridora and get whatever food they could cook for us that early would be the greatest idea. We had had a cleansing baptismal in the river. And as we walked up the street, we were singing about everything that surrounded us. And we found on one of the parking meters, you know, they have the big gang box parking meters, we found half of a pork breakfast sandwich. And for some reason, it was prophesized that pork must have been shown to us as a sign that morning. So we decided that at the Floridora, we would order every piece of bacon they could possibly prepare for us while we sat and played our instruments.
The salmon era was certainly the salmon era at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival. They might be the most quintessential Telluride Bluegrass Festival band of them all, mostly because they really opened up to different styles really boldly. And for whatever reason, the festival was kind of doing that at the same time.